Hey guys, welcome back to American Adventure. In this episode, I will be building a saloon and working on the little town of Tumbleweed, which would be right next to our Big Thunder Mountain type of roller coaster, or I should call it now Titan Peak Railroad, which is the actual final name of said roller coaster. So the shortening for that would be TPR, and I made a symbol for that. Well, I kind of made a symbol, I made a sign for it. So what this land was missing in the beginnings of said design was a saloon or an actual western town. I did build some western buildings up toward the front of the land, but they were kind of just regular plain old buildings. So I decided to go for some more on this side to kind of fill in the empty spots, and also a good place to kind of wrap up into the area for the river rapids, because the river rapids needs a area to kind of connect it to the mountain range, because I'll build two mountain ranges actually in this segment. Right here is the saloon, which I have named the Emerald Saloon. So it's kind of like copying the Diamond Saloon, I think, in Walt Disney World, or the Diamond Horseshoe, I think it was called. Something like that. So I did I did a depot, some restaurants. This is not the final version because this was kind of a mock-up, and I later changed this out because I didn't like how the building was really rectangular. I want to stay away from squares and rectangles. Well, stay away from squares. Do more rectangles and more odd shapes with buildings to make them more unique is the best way to go. But so I had to make this building a little bit smaller. It was a little too big after figuring out that it's like, oh well, this is way too big in its size. So this is going to completely be erased and then reevaluated, and then the buildings and the depot get rearranged a little bit. So there you go, moving the depot, moving the two restaurants. It's a popcorn stand and I think a hot drink stand, because I already have a soda stand in this land. I didn't want to keep repeating the same shop, even though soft drinks is going to be a quite frequent store, especially in a theme park like this, because you have to have soft drinks in your restaurants, I think, or a drink in general. I always think that you need a main course and then a drink of some sort in your restaurant. So two buildings usually. When it comes to this land's layout, each building should have at least a purpose, or try to, so it's kind of the objective. We got some updates on some of the rocks and stuff, so the rocks can now be scaled down to 0.10. So I was testing out some ideas with some rocks that you can make them very small. Over here is this red wall to kind of go off to the employee path. And then after building some specialized customized fences for the balcony, I decided to do a diagonal piece wall here to kind of give the building a different shape than usual. And so I wanted to make this more of a diagonal front of the Emerald Saloon. So I was just kind of copying pictures and references from Disneyland, Disney World saloons and other saloons in the world, just kind of copying that. And then I wanted also to do a big HVAC system on top of the building. You'll see that in a little bit. I think I do 3 air conditioning vents, 3 air conditioning machines, and then a whole bunch of vents and stuff, all made of shapes. I kind of just go on top and just kind of make the roof not as boring. Because when I looked at maps of theme parks in general, like Disneyland, Knott's, even Six Flags, they all have these huge amount of HVAC and pipes and stuff on top of their buildings, and they're very stained too. So I also want to make sure that they look like that as well. Kind of the realism kind of look for it. Then after I did all of that, I was about maybe 30 minutes of placing down those shapes. Decided to go into do some actual detail work for the saloon itself and get ready to do some Western decorating with like wood accents and stuff like that. To kind of give that Western feel. And then the windows, stuff like that. So just working on shape placement and testing. Experimentation with where things should go. Cubes are always a good way to kind of make some like wood balconies or like wood outcrops on the wall to give detail. I do love that we got the new adjustment system in place, so it's now 0.05 now everything is, so it works really well. So I'm quite happy with said new enhancements to the game's building style and stuff like that. So right now, this whole build is not using Construction Anarchy, period, so I'm not using it right now. I'm kind of not using it until I actually really do need to use it for like maybe moving walls off of grid and borders. But right now, I wanted to try to see if I can build some pretty cool stuff without Construction Anarchy, and I think I did some pretty cool stuff with this saloon. I did some half hemispheres for the these awnings. I didn't want to use the awnings from the details page. I wanted to try something with a different shape or try something with a different piece, and it actually looks like an awning and looks different, and it gives it a different character of said building. So I decided to go from there. Those two awnings up on the diagonal are going away because I need to build a sign that's like a giant emerald. Now, I did set myself up funny because I made it diagonal. I didn't think that, oh wait, I need to make it look like an emerald or something like a diamond. So I kind of did. It looks like the Sims 4 icon that goes above their heads, like a Sims head, like their life bar or something. So it kind of looks like that, which I'm okay with, but it's kind of funny how it looks like that symbol from SimCity, not SimCity, Sims 4. So right here, as you can see, I am testing out a rock like border for fences. Testing something out with said how small we can make the rocks. Now keep in mind, when we do rocks this small and you can do this much detail, you're now loading the map more full of rocks and stuff. That gets system heavy, so beware when doing this. But it was just a test right here. I might figure some other ways to do it or make it more not repeating pattern so much, because it kind of looks a little messy to me. So I just deleted and went back to our normal fence type of system. Then put down some of the new trees. I put down a mesquite and a alder. I think that's how you pronounce an alder tree. I view those as my western trees so much. The same thing with oak. Oak is like a really good like western tree. So here in this section is going to be a bank and a general store of some sort. So they're kind of going to be built together and sit next to each other. And I think in the bank is a juice store. And then in the general store will be a balloon store, because I've never built a balloon store yet for American Adventure, so I think it deserves a balloon stall, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's going to move. I think the juice shop's going to move forward. Yep, it moves forward, and I just built in the employee pathway. Why am I blanking out names? Employee pathway, I should know this. So there's the employee pathway. The depot. I could have not done another depot, but again, this is a scenario park. I can do a lot. This is going to be very expensive if you were doing this in gameplay, because those depots cost like 2,000 each, and the monthly cost is pretty high. So I wouldn't suggest you build these two depots really close to each other, but I also want to keep my immersion up high, because this park is going to have a really high immersion level when this opens in the future, which will probably be this year if I finish the next 3 lands. So we're going to jump forward onto building the second building. Well, I didn't finish the first building first, but I'm kind of getting myself a layout and a way to figure out how things should fit. So it's always a good thing to kind of place walls down and give it your shape first, and then worry about detailing later. Because I always have this issue where I want to finish my first building that I put down, but I don't have a guideline of where I want the building to end or where the other building should start. So it's good always to kind of make an outline of said building that you want. And it's okay to jump around and kind of don't go full detail. You don't have to go full detail on a building depending on the building you're going for. So I hope that explains some of the philosophies on how to complete a project, especially with how big this project is so far. This project's going to be... Yeah, we won't finish this project by part 8. This will be like I believe a 12 episode series, maybe more now, come to think of it. I have so many ideas for the next 3 lands that require dark ride design, some overall theming of lands, like New York is one of the big lands that I'm going to do. And then, well, the River Rapids needs to happen, which is going to happen in the next episode. I haven't started work on it yet, but I have some ideas to make it themed to Paul Bunyan. So I think that is appropriate for an American theme, and especially because it's Paul Bunyan's like one of our folklorers, and he would actually work out really well with how that works. Maybe I'll make a Paul Bunyan statue or something, or who knows. I haven't really fully thought on what that design is yet. But I wanted to first get the town first of Tumbleweed built, so that we get a sense of what the western area looks like. The western buildings that you see here that I'm working on are modeled after a couple western buildings in Hong Kong Disneyland in their Grizzly Gulch area, which is their Frontierland. So I kind of copy these buildings from some reference pictures that I found, and other things like that. Just doing some basic window work. I didn't do research on why Western buildings have these like high edges of their walls, like these little step walls. I don't know what they're called, but I think they're meant for holding up signs or decoration to make them look more inviting, maybe, or more interesting, something like that. I don't really know the reason. I just know that Western buildings do that. They do that a lot. So I'm trying out a different top roof. Kind of works. And it matches what I was going for with this like half circle on top. Then I lowered the size of the cubes to kind of make it a little bit not as big, a little bit softer. Then I added a roof in the back to kind of suggest that there's supports in the back, and also to hide the the disc. I didn't want to see the disc on the back side, even though guests won't see it, but we as the viewer will, because we're floating this helicopter or this eye in the sky type of thing. So I added some brown accents on top to give it some different edges and some detailing. Detailing is very important, especially in a game that has no textures like Parkitect, because things like to bleed together, and so I try to break that up by having different steps and different edges of things. This is why I use borders and shapes like I do to separate those lines so you can identify what that object is. Here I wanted to do a custom staircase design to suggest that there's a staircase that leads up to the balcony. And again, I didn't put a door up there, but it doesn't need to be there. So I just decided to make an actual working staircase with the new shapes that we got. The diagonal shape pieces we got helps with making it look like a stair. And then I kind of went from there. And it looks like a staircase. I quite like the effect, actually. It looks really good. And it feels like a staircase. So it kind of makes it look more realistic. Now on to something cool. I did some effects testing with the new controller and stuff like that. So I did a dynamite trailing effect. So it gets lit at the bottom, goes up this wire, and lights and blows up the pile of TNT at the top. So this is kind of copying actual Big Thunder Mountain's like third chain lift. So I kind of took some liberties on it and kind of did my own thing. It does the effect twice to kind of give it that cycle so that the riders in the front and the riders in the back get to experience it. And I do 2 lines of these wires, and then I did a stack of a whole bunch of these flame pieces, and then I individually triggered them to do this wave effect, and then hit the triggers at the top where the TNT is, and then it goes boom. It doesn't make it a boom sound, which is unfortunate. I might make it. You need to get an explosion sound. And I'll get the explosion sound, and then I'll probably put that in later. But this was first time really getting. I mean, I'm putting now effects on almost every ride now at this point. Like I already did the runway for Victory Field. Now I'm doing this for Big Thunder, or sorry, Titan Peak Railroad. I can use these effects maybe for the New York area, the farm area too would be cool. Yeah, the effects and the fireworks really just makes your park more alive. And this ride already has 2 triggers. The geysers go off, and now this chain lift goes off. And I think this is a really cool way to kind of give it that extra bit of character and life. And this area was kind of blank for the longest time, and so I'm very happy that I got to fill it in and fix it. And yeah, there you go, the working triggers. So right now we're gonna transfer over to a live tour of the land and what it looks like in its whole, and then I'll explain in that where the upcoming places and things will be built in the next episode. So let's go over to the live tour. Okay, here we are in the town of Tumbleweed. So I'll just take a small tour of what was built in the time lapse. So we're just gonna do an overview. So here's Emerald Saloon, as it's fully completed with its wonderful air ducts. Oh, that's wonderful glory. I did like this build. This build was a lot of fun to work on, and I would like to do more saloons in the future, maybe in a different park or something, or maybe do more of a generic Disneyland. We'll see. Then over here we got a bank and a normal looking general store. It should say general store up here, maybe? Yeah, I might do that later. And also, here is... oh, here, look, the triggers, they're actually going already. Cool. So, and here's the dynamite scene for the Titan Peak Railroad. So, it all does its things. I might refine it a little bit to add some maybe more smoke or fire. We'll see. I do like how this right now has a little bit more life to it after I did some controller stuff and effects stuff. Same thing with the geysers. Geysers also got them as well. And then I added a very simple TPR sign for the railroad. This is for the entrance. And I think this section actually of the Great Frontier is finished. And so the next section is going to be build a building here, maybe for a flat ride, probably the Twister flat ride. And then that kind of leads into that this section here could be the entrance to the river rapids, which I think I'm going to call Paul Bunyan's Logging. So it's going to be about Paul Bunyan, and I think that would fit perfectly for my American theme for folklore. So I want to try to get into more folklore stuff with that. And then as this continues on, this actually connects over to later on will be Coney Island. So this is kind of a test to see what type of rides I would put in Coney Island, but that's just kind of over there. And then what's the last thing that needs to be built for the next thing would probably be a building for the riverboat here, and kind of extend out the dock, add some fishing stuff and some other harbor things. And then this boat's staying. I'm not going to change it because I do like the boat how it is. I don't have to redesign a boat, so I want to keep it as is. I do like how this boat looks. I might add some details to it to make it a little bit more, maybe more realistic, I think. Well, I do like how the boat sits. Oh, maybe like fix this, add some decoration or something. So, yeah, this is the town of Tumbleweed that we'll continue to work on, and then build the river rapids, and then, yeah, Great Frontier is almost done. So, hope you guys like this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.